Hello, everyone. So today I'm going to be talking about my experiences at SFSU and also going over my application stats. And so I made a little PowerPoint to talk about this and kind of keep my thoughts organized. So we'll go ahead and get into it. But I am going to keep it in this mode because for whatever reason, when I try to share my screen and record at the same time, it doesn't work if I put it in present mode. So we're just gonna keep it like this and hopefully that's okay. Anyways, to start, hello, my name's Chloe. If you don't know, I'm a pre-veterinary student at San Francisco State. I'm majoring in biology with an emphasis in zoology, and I'm also minoring in chemistry. And then I put my Instagram handle there in case anybody has any questions and you want to send me a message or anything. Anyway, here's my little agenda today. We're going to go through my college app stats and then talk about how I ended up at SFSU and then go through some of my experiences, and at the very end I'll share some advice. Okay, so it's a lot on this slide. On the far column over here on the left, we have all of my application stats. So my GPA was about 3.5, SAT score was 1250. I don't think these are exact numbers, mostly because this is just from my memory, so it's not 100% accurate. This is just what I remember it being. I did not take the ACT, so I don't have a score available for that, but I did take two AP classes in high school. I think it was AP Psychology and AP Gov. However, I did not take the test for either of them because I was not available to take the test. I had schedule conflicts. Beyond that, I did one honors class. It was, let's see, I think it was honors chemistry. I did okay in it. Not the best, not the worst. And then in terms of transcript blips, I did have an F in honors pre-calc, and I was trying really hard to drop it, but for whatever reason, my school would not let me drop it, and I had to keep it for the entire semester. And so that did impact my GPA quite a bit, but overall, it did not prevent me from getting into college at all. And so in addition to all of the grades and scores, I did have about 150 hours of community service at the time that I applied to college. And then I did have an extracurricular as well. I did competitive cheerleading, which took up a lot of my time, and it was very fun. And then I did list out all of the schools that I applied to. So UC Davis, UC Santa Cruz, Berkeley, San Francisco State, San Jose State, the Cal Polys, and then Monterey and Chico. And then in case you were wondering, at the time I was applying, it was about 2018, 2019. And then the high school I graduated from was Milpitas High. And then during my senior year of Milpitas High, I also went to the Silicon Valley Career Technical Education School, which is located in San Jose. And if you're not sure what that is, basically it's a vocational school where instead of your regular high school classes like math and English and history, they would have all these fun career-based classes like veterinary assisting, which is the one I did, or you could do like they had a pre-dentistry program, a pre-pharmacy class, there was welding and auto body shop, all of those fun classes that used to be in general high school curriculum but have since no longer been available to students. Anyway, I put some pictures at the bottom from when I was in high school. So here we have me at, I think the horse's name was Snowball. That was at the Silicon Valley Career Technical Education campus. And then I have one of my cheerleading pictures and then also one of my graduation pictures. Okay, so here I've gone ahead and crossed out all of the schools that I got rejected from. So I didn't have as many options left over as I would have liked. It was really just 4 out of the, I think, almost 10 that I applied to. So wasn't too excited about that, but next up, I had to choose which school I actually wanted to go to. And so this was kind of difficult for me to do when I was a senior in high school because I wasn't really thinking too much about college. I was really focused on doing well in cheer and trying to keep my grades up. But basically, what I did was I made a flowchart similar to this, and then I would try to compare like a pros and cons list of each school. And so on the next slide, first we're going to compare CSU Monterey and CSU Chico. And being a pre-vet student, I thought the best major to do was animal science. And so I was really happy to be accepted to Chico and have the option of doing an animal science major. However, Chico is a bit far for me, and I didn't really want to go too far away from home. I also didn't want to dorm, and Chico kind of has a reputation of being a party school. And at the time I was applying, they had a very low graduation rate, which I was not too happy about. On the other hand, Monterey was looking pretty good. I got in as a marine bio major, and the campus seemed really cool. It was right by the ocean, which was very nice. And so I would have definitely enjoyed going to the beach and being outdoors and everything. But similar to Chico, it was far away, but in a different direction. And again, I didn't want to dorm, and also it was not really the major I wanted to do. But ultimately I decided I would rather go to Monterey than Chico, so CSU Monterey won that round. And then I had to decide between San Francisco State and San Jose State. And so to start, San Jose State was probably the more logical reason or logical option for me to pursue, because it was super close to home. I could just drive there very easily. I got in as a general bio major, and it was relatively affordable since I wouldn't have to dorm. I could just live at home. But it was not really the major I wanted because I was so set on animal science that I was just upset about everything else. Another con or thing that I didn't really like was a lot of people from my high school end up going to San Jose State, and I didn't really want to be with the same group of people for another 4 years. I kind of wanted to, try making new friends and explore a new area that I wasn't really familiar with as much. Also, parking in downtown San Jose, where the school is located, can be really difficult, and I did not want to deal with that at all. And then I kind of mentioned this already, but San Jose, I basically grew up there, and so it didn't have that new college adventure vibe, starting a new chapter of life type of feeling. It was just San Jose State, there was nothing special about it for me. But I do know a lot of my friends had gone there and they're having a really great time, but that was just my perspective about San Jose State. It didn't really spark my interest. And then San Francisco State, I got in as a zoology major, which I thought was pretty cool. That was my second choice of major after animal science, so that was automatically a pro. And then, of course, it's a beautiful campus. It's very outdoorsy. There's lots of greenery. And again, there's a great location. It's very close to the ocean. Another huge pro for San Francisco State was that I have family that lived very close to campus. It was about 2 blocks away. And so lucky me, I wouldn't have to dorm. I could just walk to school. And then also the tuition was really affordable being a California resident. And then really the only major thing I didn't really like about the school was the fact that I would have to commute. And so driving about an hour to and from school was not the greatest, but again, my family lives nearby, so I could just stay with them on days that I had classes. Whoops, I think I pressed the button too fast. There we go. So San Francisco State ended up beating out San Jose, and then I had to decide between San Francisco and Monterey, and basically it really just came down to the price. And so if I had gone to Monterey, I would have had to dorm, and factoring in the cost of living and how expensive it is to dorm, and also the difference in tuition was a lot. It would have cost me a lot more money to go to Monterey than it would have to go to SFSU. And so that's kind of the whole way I figured out how to go to SFSU. And as you can see, it came out on top. Yay. And then here I have a slide about starting college at San Francisco State. So my first impressions were not that great. I had a really bad attitude as a freshman. I was thinking, this sucks. San Francisco State doesn't have a vet school. There's no resources for pre-vet. There's no advising for pre-vet. There's not even a major for pre-vet. How am I going to get where I want to go? And so with that, I felt like it was going to be really hard for me to find my place on campus and be happy doing my undergrad coursework there. Also, I don't know if you guys are familiar with San Francisco weather, but it's really cold. Even if it's sunny, the air is cold, it's windy, it's foggy, the air is like moist and wet. And I don't really vibe with that kind of weather. So that was something I was not looking forward to. Additionally, during my first few weeks, it really started to hit me that this is a commuter school. And so because I wasn't dorming and because so many students drive home after class, and they don't really stick around to socialize, it was really hard to meet people, which definitely made the first few months of college not fun because I just felt super alone at the time. I didn't really have anyone to talk to. I didn't have a social circle yet. I did try to join some groups through social media to try to meet other students, but it didn't really go very well because nobody really had the same interests that I did. So being a pre-vet and wanting to talk about animals and stuff, nobody really vibed with me, which is fine. It takes time to find your circle of friends. And when I was first starting out, I was really impatient. I just wanted to have that really great experience that I was seeing all of my friends have on social media because they were all posting about how happy they were moving in to their colleges and starting classes and joining clubs and meeting people. And I was just like not having that. I was so sad because I was like, man, I wish that was me, but it's not, and everything's terrible. And I was just so sad. And then the last point on here I kind of touched on already, but there was no academic advising for pre-vets. So I was totally clueless. I had no idea what I was doing, didn't know what classes I was supposed to take, any of that. And the people I was trying to talk to and ask for help, they didn't have much of an answer for me either. So I had to figure it out all by myself, which was really difficult. But the more time I spent at SF State, the more I realized that it's actually a really good school for bio and chem majors. The bio department specifically is very supportive, and the faculty is super nice and super willing to help. And so even though they didn't have the answers to a lot of my questions, they were willing to help me figure it out in the sense of directing me towards other resources or places I could try to find the answers I needed. Additionally, I realized that my tuition was about $7,000 per year. Usually they break it up by semester, so it would have been around $3,500, $3.700 each semester. But with FAFSA and scholarships, I did some math and I was able to realize that it was actually going to cost me nothing to go to San Francisco State. So that was a huge weight off my shoulders because, as all pre-vet students know, vet school is expensive. So the cheaper your undergrad is, the more you can start saving towards vet school. And also, the less students loan you have and less debt you have from undergrad, the better, because the amount of debt you're going to acquire from vet school is going to be a lot. And we want to try to minimize that as much as possible. Also, I realized that there's actually pre-health students everywhere at SF State. It's really a pre-health school because not only are there pre-health students in the bio department, but there's some in the chemistry department. We have a nursing department. There's a kinesiology department. There's a psych department, health and social sciences. There's just like so many places to find other students interested in health professions. And so with that, I was able to find other kids in similar medical professions. And so that helped make me feel a little bit less alone, which was great. Okay, and so the next thing I had to do when I started college was figure out my degree path. And as I mentioned before, SF State does not have a vet school, and it does not have an official pre-vet program or degree pathway. So after doing a lot of research, I figured out that the major I chose, which was a Bachelor of Science degree in biology, concentrating in zoo, that major plus a minor in chemistry, putting those together, that would satisfy nearly all of my veterinary school prereqs. And I'm not going to tell you exactly what the classes for those majors and minors are because you can look those up online. But after I had figured that out and started working towards my degree, the bio department actually got rid of the zoology major, which was a huge inconvenience for a lot of students because students were maybe halfway through their degree and then all of a sudden they either had to stick with it or change to a whole new major. And incoming freshmen or transfer students were no longer able to select zoology as their major. And so basically what happened was the department combined zoology with a couple other smaller majors like botany and I think conservation bio to create a bigger, broader major called EECB. And basically it's the same thing. You just have a better access to a wider variety of classes. So for example, as a zoo major, it would be harder for me to get a class specifically for botany students as a zoo major, but if I were an EECB major, I would have easier access towards like botany classes or something else. Anyway, taking that as a substitute for zoo and then combining it with the chemistry major, the chemistry minor will still satisfy a lot of your prereqs. And if you want to see this all in like a flowchart type of diagram, we have that available on the Pre-Veterinary Society website, which is linked over here on the side if you want to check that out, if you're like a visual person like how I am. Okay. And so here I've listed out all of the classes I've taken, or all the classes I took during my first year. And one of the interesting things about my first year of college is that I didn't even get a full entire first year because, as I'm sure we all are very familiar with, the COVID-19 pandemic started in about March of 2020, maybe April. And so a lot of the classes I was taking in the spring suddenly got either canceled or switched to an online format. But during my first semester back in fall, I began thinking about starting a pre-vet club because as I was walking the halls of the biology department, I would see these flyers hanging in the bulletin boards for a pre-vet society. And I actually showed up to the room number at the meeting time that was listed there, and nobody was there. It turns out that club had dissolved about 5 years before I had arrived to SF State. So it had been dead for a while, but I kind of saw this as an opportunity for myself. I thought where there is nothing, I could create something. And so that inspired me to start the Pre-Veterinary Society, which we have our little club logo here in the corner. And then with the help of some faculty in the bio department, as well as the philosophy department, I was able to submit all the paperwork, and the pre-vet club was started in the spring. And so this ended up working out really well because I was able to meet a lot of other pre-vet students who were interested in joining the club. And that was a great way for me to make friends because I was also too scared to join like a sorority or fraternity. And so I didn't try to make friends that way. I just kind of stuck to myself and my pre-vet focus. Anyway, here are some pictures from my freshman year. I don't have a whole lot because it kind of got cut short due to COVID, but from right to left, there's me kind of packed up and ready to move in, like all set and ready to go to school. I went to the zoo, which was really fun. I feel like as a zoo major, I had to go do that. And then the middle pictures are from my introductory biology course. This is from the lab section, and so we were looking at microscope slides. We were testing like different sunscreens and how well they protect skin cells. And so we had grown like different cultures on those little petri dishes. And we also got to do a dissection lab, which was really fun. A little bit gross. Sorry if you're squeamish. Maybe just like don't look at that picture if you don't want to see it. But another fun thing I did was go to a cat cafe. And so there's a place in San Francisco called Kitty. It's like kitty, but instead of a Y, it's like an EA, so it's like T. And you can go have a drink and pet some cats. And it was really fun, very relaxing. 10 out of 10 would recommend going if you want to check it out. And so that basically leads into my second year, which was entirely online because of COVID. And so since I had taken on the chemistry minor, I realized that all of these extra classes from the chemistry minor would have probably set me back another semester unless I were to take summer classes. So the summer in between freshman and sophomore year, I decided to take Calculus 1, which was really difficult. I wouldn't recommend doing calc over the summer because it goes very fast. The summer classes are only, I think, 6 weeks long, and so it's hard to keep up with the content sometimes. Anyway, this first year during COVID times was really difficult because this was the time I was taking all of those really hard science classes that are prereqs for vet school. And a lot of these science classes have labs attached to them, so like chemistry and physics. And then I was taking a couple other like general education requirements like stats and philosophy. But yeah, it was hard to adjust to an online format. It was hard not to see any face-to-face interactions, hard to make friends because it's just like you see names on the screen and maybe a few people are talking in the Zoom chat. But beyond that, like nobody really interacts with each other. And you also miss building a relationship with your professors too. So I was having a really hard time and I literally cried every day. It was not great, but we got through it. And so I don't have very many interesting pictures from sophomore year, but this is what my schedule was supposed to be. I would go to class every day. I made some time to go to the gym, but obviously that couldn't happen. And then we have some like random pictures from Zoom school. I have a COVID test I did. I think that was my first one. It came back negative. But also at this time, and I actually just realized I forgot to explain these little symbols I put on here. So the red symbol is obviously COVID. The heart symbol is me doing an internship at the same time as doing school. So during the summer, I did an internship. It was like wildlife rehabilitation, which was really cool. Got to work on some pretty cool species. And then the star, the yellow star, is working full time. So I was doing about 40 hours a week in a small animal general hospital practice. And so that's what the final picture is on the far right side of the screen here. So then we get into my third year. It was still entirely online. I did another summer internship at the same wildlife center. I was working full time up until the fall. And then I decided things were getting a bit tough. It was hard to manage full-time school and full-time work at the same time. So I decided to step back a little bit and switch to doing part-time work, which is indicated by the blue star. And then summer of 2022 was the first summer that I did not take any classes, and I just focused on, work and the internship, trying to gain my veterinary experiences and build up my resume a little bit. And so here are some pictures from my junior year. There's me wrapped up in a blanket because I was just so sad and tired from Zoom school. Have some chemistry notes up there. I was trying to study for the GRE, which was not fun. I think that was a huge factor of burnout in addition to having to do online school. But besides those more negative experiences, I did have quite a few positive ones. I got to do my internships over the summer. I started to DJ a little bit. I launched my sticker store, which is called Chloe's Craft Account on Etsy. I got to participate in a cattle roundup, and I did a whole bunch of vaccines on cows. And then I also met the horses. And so this is the first time, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, but I'm hovering over it. This is the first time I met Sugar Daddy. He's the horse in the picture. He's got his head covered with his fly mask. That was when he first arrived at the barn, which was very exciting. And so then we get into my fourth year, which is what's happening now. I'm still in my fourth year. And this was the first time I had gone back to campus and actually like sat in a classroom. So it was a little weird to transition back to in-person school, but overall it's been really great being back in person. And so, as you may have noticed, we have different symbols on these semesters. So the COVID symbol's gone, the stars are gone, the hearts are gone, and we have this little microscope. And so what this indicates is how I actually ended up joining some research labs on campus. And so in the fall, I was mainly working in one that studies like ticks and disease ecology, and a little bit of like virus type things. And so I've been doing a lot of like PCR work for that. And then kind of towards the end of the fall, maybe beginning of spring, I started helping out in another lab, which is more focused on like evolutionary biology. And so with them, I was working with some nematodes. And if you watch my previous video, you'll see me like doing a time lapse of counting the worms and everything, which was pretty fun. Additionally, during my fourth year, I submitted a petition to improve pre-health advising on campus. And so this kind of came from the fact that I was about to graduate, but throughout my years with the Pre-Vet Society and having a leadership role with them and having figured out all of this pre-vet knowledge, and being able to share that with other students, I didn't want all of that knowledge to just go away when I graduated. I figured there needs to be something established on campus that students can go and get the resources and help that they need. So with a couple other students, we submitted a petition and it was successful. We got about 200 signatures, and now we're forming a whole entire committee, and there's a new advising office, and it's gonna be great. So if you decide to come to SFSU, definitely check out that new advising office, because all of those new advisors are going to be well informed about pre-vet stuff by the time I leave, and hopefully by the time you get here. So anyway, moving on from that, there was also a huge demand from pre-vet students in the Pre-Vet Society to actually have a class on campus dedicated to pre-veterinary things. And so I did some digging, seeing if that was possible. Unfortunately, it was not something I was able to do through the biology department, but it was possible for me to do through the experimental college, which honestly I could probably make a whole nother video about. But basically, the experimental college is a really unique program where any student at SF State can sign up to teach a class about whatever topic they want. And so students who teach these classes get up to 4 units of upper division elective credit. And then students who enroll are able to get 1 unit of upper division elective credit, which is really great. And so because there's so much freedom in designing your classes, there's pretty much anything you can think of. And so there's, for example, my class, which is Intro to Veterinary Medicine, or there's other examples like the pre-med class, there's dance classes, there's poetry classes, there's just field trip classes, or what's another good one? There's like a Percy Jackson class, which is really cool. Yeah, so pretty much whatever you want to do, you can do. There's a lot of freedom in there, and it's also super fun and a great thing to put on your resume as well. And it also like changes your perspectives a little bit. So instead of being the student, you become the teacher, but you're also teaching other students who are kind of like at the same level as you. And so sometimes the kids in your class might also be in the classes that you're enrolled in outside of Exco, which is unique and really fun. But as you can see from this next slide, I have a lot more pictures from my senior year. And so since it's my last year and my time is very limited on campus, I'm trying to kind of do the most, like do everything I possibly can and really make up for all the lost time that I missed from COVID. And so I'm not going to go through all of these pictures. I'm just kind of go through like the top ones that stand out to me. And so, of course, we have a trip to the SF Zoo, and I got to go on a field trip with the Pre-Vet Club to tour the veterinary hospital, which was phenomenal. We have some pictures from the California Academy of Sciences, so like nightlife and touring the collections, doing some lab work here, so chemistry lab, research lab stuff. We have a suture workshop picture in there. We have pictures of conferences I went to. And so at the bottom, there's the Bay Area EEID conference, which was hosted on campus at SF State. And then there's another picture kind of next to it from the UC Davis pre-health conference, which was really cool to go to because a lot of veterinary schools attended, and it was great to just talk to them and visit their booth. And then also, I have a picture of me running over to Target to purchase the Midnight's album from the Taylor Swift release. So I like ran outside, went to Target, got the CD, had to run to class, and then later on I had to sit in class and also sit through the Ticketmaster disaster and run from like one building to the next, carrying my laptop and hoping the website wouldn't crash. And so those are just like some highlights from my 4th year so far. And then I am actually running out of time. I do have an appointment to go to pretty soon. So I'm not gonna go through all of this advice like piece by piece, but if you want to read it through, go ahead and pause the video. But I am gonna wrap it up really quick because I actually do have to go. But here's another slide I made about possibly the next video on my channel. So if you'd like to see pros and cons of SFSU, or if you want me to talk about how I went to college for free, that's another option. Let me know by leaving a comment or sending me a message on Instagram, or if you have another idea besides that, I'm open to that too. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys next time.